This is called the Spectrum Survey, and it's a series of questions to both, one, find your particular identity on the spectrum between so-called male and female, and to also understand how you got to the terms of who you are and how you grew up and, how you dealt with it and how you're dealing with it now. And so I think for you, there's going to be a few questions, like 30 of them, but we'll try to make them fast. Okay, so let me say first, it's not just male and female. And people think in absolute terms you're either male or female. People say that all the time. It's not true. The intersex is absolute proof of that. If you could be born with a penis and a uterus, then there is no absolute male and female. I could go into that all day long, but this is just a way to identify where people in the middle lie, the LGBTQ community, the intersex community, the asex community, etc. So let's start off. And first, please tell us your name. And if you are not comfortable using your real name, you can use an alias.
My name is Faelynn.
Faelynn. That's Faelynnn. Oh, you do sign language. That's so cool. Do you do that for any reason? Not to get off topic, but
alphabet. I started learning a long time ago, and then I stopped. But I primarily stopped because pretty much everyone I was around would get really annoyed when I started signing.
I know my brother speaks Spanish at me all the time. I speak a little bit, but it drives me. He's like,
but I'd
my phone just shut off.
So they could still understand me. They just got annoyed that I was signing as well. I don't know. They're silly.
I gotcha. Am I bright? Why is this so bright?
Yeah, you have low contrast and low saturation video. I don't know why.
Well, let's go. I don't know how to change that, but I look okay. I like this. Okay. Okay, so told us your name and where are you from and where do you live now?
I have lived in the Pacific Northwest my whole life, in the Seattle area.
Cool.
But I grew in a 5-acre lot of forested.
Okay, so you just live out in the country outside of Seattle?
Yeah, it's at the base of the mountains. Right now I live.
It's a beautiful place.
To Seattle in suburbia, which is boring.
Okay, well, you got Seattle close by, so if you ever get tired of it. So Seattle, it's a one of the most progressive liberal places in America and in the world. So that's I always like to ask that because some people grow up in strictly conservative areas and some people grow up more liberal. So what is your gender identity? And if you don't have one, just say I don't have one.
That's just whether you identify as male, female, gender fluid, etc. Right? I am cisgender. I identify as female.
Okay, you identify as female. So your pronouns are, what are your preferred pronouns? He or she and her?
Yeah.
You probably never even thought about that before.
I don't care if people use other pronouns for me.
Okay. And what is your so-called biological sex? What were you assigned at birth?
I am cisgender. I was assigned female at birth.
Okay. And I mean, I can tell. It's not like I couldn't tell and I had to ask you. These are just questions I asked everybody. We're just trying to get the idea of where you are on the spectrum. Okay, and what is your sexual orientation? If you don't have one, then say I don't have one.
My sexual orientation is demisexual, but I am panromantic.
Okay, tell us about these. I myself am learning these. Demisexual is where you have to. Okay, go ahead. You tell us.
So even every term, no matter how specific of a term, it does have its own little spectrum and community. Sure. Demisexuals in general need to form some sort of bond with someone before they will experience sexual attraction to them. Now, this does not mean that they won't already have a libido or have sexual desires, but you can be aroused without being aroused by a certain person.
Gotcha. So that's actually one of the questions. You have the physical reaction of it, but it is not attached necessarily or at all to any person or face or body, right? But without the emotional connection.
Yeah, so me personally, my libido happens to scale with my demisexual side. So if there's no one around me that I have a bond with and that I'm attracted to where I would have sexual desires for them, my libido is flat, it's zero, and it can be like that for years. But then
Oh
if there's
wow.
that I have a really strong bond with and I trust and I respect. And we've done some physically intimate things and I've enjoyed it physically as well. Then my libido is like maxed out, full battery.
Okay. Wow. That's so interesting. Years. You said years?
hmm Yeah,
Wow.
and everyone's like
Mine
that.
doesn't go 25 minutes, I don't think. Oh, so you and it are you hetero or both or like you have the
That's
Demite
the
swords?
panromantic side.
Okay.
So uh, I am able to form a romantic bond with any gender. It doesn't define anything.
Let me ask the difference between panromantic and bisexual. Pan, there are more than the two genders. You can identify with trans or intersex or any kind of gender. It doesn't just have to be male or female. That's what pan means. Panromantic, all.
Bi, two or more. So you can technically identify as bi if you're pan. Some people just prefer the term; it makes them more comfortable. Um, but yeah, there's another one that's similar to pan. And one of them is like you don't see or acknowledge gender, and one is just it doesn't change whether you'll be attracted to them. I don't remember which one is which right now.
There's a few of them. I'm still learning about that. So, okay, now we have an idea of your spectrum. You are assigned as a female at birth, a woman. You identify as female. You're she and her. You are demisexual and romantic. Okay, do you have actual sexual? Okay, do you have any attractions? Like I think you just said this with
Oh yeah,
just by seeing a like with guys, you see a good looking guy, do you ever get that response? You have to have the attachment to get that
oh
response.
yeah,
Is that right?
did the club around, and I could be like, oh, these are well formed bodies, and you're doing a good job. But I wouldn't be aroused. I wouldn't have any tingly feelings or anything like that. I wouldn't be ready to do anything with them.
But you do, can you, I mean, do you have genuine feelings like that, the physical response to people when it comes down to like your emotional attachment to them, like you get connected with them enough? It's like you grow it, is what I'm saying. Like you don't
Yeah.
have it until you get the.
It's
Do you like straight up,
a
or okay,
option.
would you say you are asexual?
Uh,
Asexual in,
Demisexual spectrum. It's pretty much the spectrum that's separate from allosexual. Allosexual is the term used for people that experience their arousal and their sexual attraction in the designated normal way. So they could see an body on the street and they could be aroused by it and
okay.
feel sexual feelings.
Okay, so you're somewhat more. I also there's a term. It was asex repulse, asex neutral, and asex
Uh,
positive.
um, I would say I'm sex positive. I've definitely felt repulsed feelings when thinking about sexual things before, but that's when I imagine myself with some random stranger, and sometimes it's neutral. I don't feel anything. Sometimes it's
Does
repulsion
that
feeling.
does that repulsion have to do with their looks? Like if I mean, obviously, if they're not pretty or not good looking or
Uh,
unattractive, like I'm not going to say
no,
ugly, but
the repulsive feelings. If I just wasn't in a steady emotional state and I was imagining it, or if I disliked the person, if I had negative feelings already towards the person.
really,
But in general, I'm a sex positive. Um, I enjoy sexual actions when it's with someone I have a bond with, and I also have no problem other people talking about sex or having sex. I think it can be very healthy. I do. Our society is too sexually charged, and I think that the porn is integrated too early and is becomes fetishized and an addiction to so many people.
That is
But
true.
sex itself, um,
Okay,
I
just let me ask you it this way. If you see there's a movie on Cinemax and there's a naked couple and there's a naked guy and a naked girl and they're both good looking, nothing. You have to have, I mean, do you have any kind of response physically? Any kind of actual sexual
I
like arousal? I'm sorry, say that again. You got cut off.
I said no. I don't feel anything. I find it kind of strange when people do.
Really? Okay. All right, cool. So now in this next part, we're going to talk about like your background, how you grew up, and how you dealt with it. The first question is, go ahead. At what age did you begin to notice there was something different about you, like different, like you weren't the normal girl?
So, if you're talking about different in regards to orientation,
Yes.
I wouldn't say there was any age that I noticed anything. I noticed that other people were doing sexual things and feeling sexual ways way sooner than I thought was appropriate because it was early elementary school. I had
Oh,
in my
wow. Yeah.
there were first and second graders that were going through puberty and having sex with high schoolers.
First or second graders, like
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 year olds
Hmm.
going through puberty.
Yes.
That's got to be a world. I didn't go until I was 11. Like, was that
Yeah.
it was just a couple of them, or
Um, Probably at
oh,
least five class
you're
in class.
oh my gosh, you're talking about a 7 year old with a high school person?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that's a totally different. So, usually it's like 6, 7 year olds. They have little crushes on each other, and it's all cute, and they give each other Valentines. But that's pretty. Oh gosh. Wow. What school did you go to?
Uh, it was a mining town. Um,
Oh, okay.
but I don't know. Yeah, they went through puberty super fast too. Not everyone. Some people didn't go through puberty until they were 15 or 16, but some it was like they were 7 and 8.
Wow, I've never heard of that before. I mean, like a world record maybe, but geez. Okay. So at what age? So you said you didn't really realize any age. So the next question is, at what age did you finally realize you are your identity, or do you realize now?
I've always known that I didn't normally I didn't have sexual desires as quickly as some of the population did. Um, but I
Let me
also
ask
know,
you.
and when people would ask about it as I got a little older, about oh, does this arouse you or whatever, and I would talk about how I felt because I managed to put it into words very early. Um, there were a lot of people that I came across that identified with that as well and felt the same way before the term was really acknowledged and popularized.
Okay. And what? Give me an age. What around what age? Or was this just over a period of time?
People would start talking about it around middle school, I guess, but
Okay.
there was never sort of revelation for me because I was always rather aware of it. And it's just okay, well, now people are asking about it, so I might as well find words to describe it for them.
Gotcha. Cool. That's so interesting. This is so intriguing. Okay, did you ever come out to your family and friends or anyone else? If so, how did they react?
I didn't have a coming out time, but I did help a lot of other friends through theirs. My family was always very open. Um, with talking about different sexual endeavors in the first place. And my parents were open with their sexuality, and they weren't the sort of parents that, like my grandparents were the sort of people where they're like, oh, do you have a boyfriend or whatever? And I was just like, Grandma, I like both girls and boys, but no, I have neither right now. And she's like, are you sure you wouldn't want a man? Like, I understand what you're saying, but really?
It's hard for some people to understand. It really is.
She tried.
That's the thing. It's just like people are like, you're a boy, you have to be this. You're a girl, you have to be this. And it's such an idea of absolutes, and sex and gender are relative. It's a whole complicated mess, but there is no like factory built version of man, and all men are that prototype, and we're all exactly the same man. We're all somewhat different. Okay, sorry, I'm just rambling on. When did you ever have a bad reaction? Did you ever have somebody like react badly to the point where it was upsetting when you came out to them, or when they found out?
No, I've had friends and coworkers before when they ask and I answer. I've had them try and say that I'm wrong. And that, oh no, I don't think that that's actually how you are. I think that blah 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 blah.
Yep, that's
Or no,
their.
I think
You are this.
like
Hold on one sec.
so,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they never negative or blew up on me, but they were negative in the way that they didn't believe me and just kind of like believed what they wanted to believe, but I just moved on from that. It's like, okay, well, you're lame. Moving on.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times somebody said, "No, you just gotta be with the girl. That's what all you gotta do. Just one time, you'll be hooked." I'm like, I don't want to smash my finger with a hammer, but I know that with, I've never had that urge, but I don't want to try it. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, so have you ever tried to resist your identity, who you were? Have you ever tried to uh, be what other people think is normal?
Um,
Like yourself, your personal self. You thought, I'm gonna do this and be. I look like a ghost. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be normal and I'm gonna make myself. Did you ever have that moment?
I guess the closest I could say as for relating to that would be there was a period of time when, oh my God, everyone always wanted like sexual things to feel better. Like, oh, this depressed person, if you like touch on them, then they will feel better and they'll have someone that's there for them. So there was a period of time when I did do sexual acts with people when I shouldn't have. I never did penetration with them,
You
but
just answered one of
I
my
would
questions.
touch on them or do other things, and it's not something that I should have done. It's not something I necessarily wanted to do, but more that I was kind of expected to do. Um, so I'd say that's the closest to that.
Gotcha. Kind of. Oh, well, then the next question. Um, have your parents or any other influence tried to force you to be normal?
Mm, there's so many different ways of saying normal, but you're talking about
In the
in
in this Yeah, in the spectrum of gender and identity.
um no, I think that mine, because I'm pan, so people can just, if they really want to, then just be like, oh no, she likes guys, it's fine. It because there is the availability for me to have sex with someone with being demisexual, and there's the availability for me to be with a male because I'm panromantic. I kind of slide by, like they don't care as much if
Yeah,
I
I got you.
the guy or I wasn't going to have sex at all and I was full A-spec, then I do believe there would have been problems, but I can blend in more, I
You
guess.
can play the straight girl like you're a straight girl,
Yeah,
basically.
air minds. I don't do it on purpose, but they can do whatever they want in their imagination hole.
Their imagination. Okay. What was the hardest moment you had accepting or coming to terms with your identity? Did you have a moment that was really hard where you said, I can't handle myself like this?
I know that there were times when I had partners that wanted to be sexual and I didn't want to be. Um, I'd say I wouldn't say it's the normal hardest time sort of thing because I didn't really struggle with my identity or anything, but it was definitely hard when people do things you don't want them to and aren't good at listening to the word no.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got you. Say no more on that. Have you ever? I don't take this from you that this happened, but have you ever attempted or considered suicide based on your identity of who you are,
From identity reasons, no, not at all.
or any
And
kind of sex or thing, any kind of the spectral thing?
no.
Okay. I think these. See, I'm going to try to take within the survey. This will be an important question because when I do the trans interviews with trans, it's going to be like half and half
Mm-hmm.
with that because I was just talking to Chris, or at least he's the first one I did, and she told me that the statistics was 41% of all trans people have attempted or committed suicide, which is
Yeah.
unbelievable. That's almost half the population.
Yeah. I
Okay.
fit squarely into the identities that I have, and like I said, I have identities that can kind of blend in. And also, I had a super supportive and open family, so I was definitely I benefited a lot from
That
those.
makes that makes a huge difference. And well, you live in a generally liberal area, so the acceptance is more common. It could be totally different if you grew up in Arkansas or somewhere in the Ozarks. It might be a different story.
Yeah, no, my parents grew up as old school goths, and then they were pretty nerdy, and they gamed a lot, whether it was computer gaming or pen and paper gaming. Um,
Okay, cool. I love that. How old are you?
I'm 23. I had to think
23.
about
We're
it.
such a young. I am at least a decade older than you. So in the 90s, we still had the whole, we still had the resistance to gay people. In the 90s, we had gay pride parades and there would be people throwing stuff at them. So us and the ones before us and the ones before them, we were all pioneers. You're going to be the next to carry the torch to save the next generation of the LGBT community. Okay. Do you have a support group, friends and family who accept you fully? I take it that you probably do.
Yeah. I wouldn't say all my family does in the way that like they try, but like how I said, my grandma struggles a bit with the idea of it sometimes. But yeah, no, my parents will definitely support me, even if they have like a questioning face sometimes with something. It's not normally about those things, uh, and they will accept it anyways. They just need to process it.
Have
And
you
my
ever brought a girl home? I mean, is that one of the issues? Or is it just, let me see, because you are demisexual, have you ever had this is a question that's later on, so I'm kind of cheating, but have you ever, brought a girl home like in a romantic way and had them in front of your parents or your grandma? Like, have you,
uh,
what I'm saying?
I have had all different genders and fluid people over, and I've been with fluid people and females as well, and had them home. My parents just didn't care because they are just like, oh, she has someone home, she cares about them, so we care about them. That's fine.
Cool.
If you tell us more,
What
just
about,
tell us.
what about
Um,
grand?
for grandparents, I think they just didn't really see it as an option. I feel like even if I told them, hey, I'm dating this person, they'd just be like, nah, she's really close friends, and they're using that word because they're nice. and she'll get over it. She'll find a man.
Yeah, that's always oh, she's gonna find a man someday.
Mhm.
That's what, my dad was always like, you're gonna find a woman someday. And I'm like, yeah, I found a bunch of them, but no, you know. Sorry, Dad. Sorry to sorry to break your heart. Okay, so this one's a little bit more personal. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Have you ever been the victim of sexual harassment, assault, or rape?
Um, I have absolutely been a victim of sexual harassment. I have absolutely been a victim of sexual assault. If you consider rape penile and vaginal penetration, then only attempted.
Okay.
But my vaginismus was stronger than their dick.
He said no.
Well, for a long while until I had a very loving and caring partner that I was also very attracted to, and we worked for a long time on it, I had a form of psychological vaginismus, and the walls in my vaginal canal were walls. You couldn't get
So
past them.
that's the actual thing. What is that called? Vaginum.
Called vaginismus, and you can have a medical vaginismus or psychological. Mine was psychological. Um, and you can, so if it's psychological, you can get through it through therapy or through working with your partner. But I think medical, I think there are some treatments, but there's also, you can get like a little box set, and there's a bunch of different sizes of penetration devices, and they start like super small, so you can get your body used to it, used to opening it up.
Oh, no kidding. I've never heard of that before.
Hmm.
So the psychological makes the physical happen. Like you're like, and it's just like closes off. I
Hmm.
know this is a little explicit, but um,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, there were people that tried to ram themselves into me and couldn't because there was no room for them to do so.
Wow. It's in, okay, this is kind of getting a little explicit, but you had to use the devices to open yourself up,
No,
basically.
use those devices. I believe that if I had physical vaginismus, I probably would have had to, but mine was psychological. I didn't personally need to use the devices. For me, I was just with a very loving partner, and we very slowly introduced sexual acts. So it would start with just like touching on the outside or something like that, and no penetration. And then slowly over time, my body was more and more okay with it. Um, I don't remember if they used their fingers before their equipment.
Okay.
Um, but I know that it was the more comfortable I felt, and as well as a combination of that and how aroused I was. Over time, it stopped being as much of a problem, and now it is not a problem.
Okay. Wow. I've never heard that before. It's very interesting. Oh, let's see. You've answered that question. Got have you, okay, this is a, we're still getting into this kind of explicit stuff, but have you ever had like the physical sexual reaction response like like normal people have, like physiologically? Do you have like a man has an erection, right? Do you have like that version of you but not attached to, do you have it just spontaneously, like naturally? Does it?
If I have been sexually active with a partner that arouses me recently and a decent amount and I enjoyed it, then other times when I'm away from them, sometimes I will. But if
Okay.
I haven't had any partners for a while, then no, it's just zero.
Okay. Like you said, it could go years, maybe. Cool. So interesting. And have you, oh gosh, I don't know if I, have you ever like yourself uh did,
Have I ever
have you ever,
masturbated?
yes, have you ever, okay, have you ever masturbated? This is so
Yes.
weird that I'm asking this, but it's a part of the question. It really is.
Sexual partners or anything. I think I like tried once and I was like, okay, this is an interesting physical feeling that can occasionally be positive, but it's not like I'd ever think about doing it. And before I was super sexually active, like maybe once in a year I would think about doing it and decide to. But but then say if I'm with a really active partner and they're not there right now, then absolutely, like 10 times a day.
That is so cool. That's amazing to me. You know, some people are in prison with, you know, masturbation. It's like a once, twice thing. It's like a need so you don't like go on a shooting rampage. For some people, it's just to keep you normal. Okay. So those I think were all the intimate questions. Have you ever had a general repulsion to touching or hugging or kissing people in a non-sexual way? Like, do you have any kind of that? Okay. So, like, when people come up and hug you, you're like,
I'm better with it now. But oh God, I hated when people would randomly touch me. I would be fine with it if I had, like, I was really close friends with the person already, and then we first verbally communicated that like we wanted to hug or have physical contact. But God, no, I didn't even let my mom play with my hair when I was a baby.
really? Wow. Did you like scream and cry?
No, we just stopped her. Although apparently, I was too young to remember, but when I'd sit in her lap and she'd start to sing to me, I would shove my hand in her face and go, ah!
Was it her singing or her touching?
uh, I think she just projects a lot of emotions when she sings, and I wasn't in the mood for it.
Okay.
Um,
Do you have any aversion to like when people just show intense, like not intense, but you know, pretty personal emotion to you? Like, oh, hey, I love you as a person.
oh no, I say I love you to my
Okay.
friends all the time, and I'm
Okay.
a lot okay with hugs and stuff now. It's just I didn't like the feeling. I didn't like the feeling of people touching me, and I think that being a very small, I'm like 5'1" by the way, and I weigh
Oh.
under 100 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Um,
I guess the camera
I've
adds 10
always
pounds.
small female. So my entire life, people everywhere, so many people have decided that it is their job to teach me how to do things and to control me and to touch me and to be sexually attracted to me when it's not of legal age. Oh my God. So I think people trying to control me and control my possessions so much might have been why I didn't like people touching me so much, because I was possessive over my body as well. It's like, no, this is at least one thing I have a choice over.
Right.
And also sometimes I would hyper focus on the feeling. Like I used to throw my glasses against the wall because I would hyper focus on how they felt on my face.
Oh, wow. So it's more like a hyperplasia, or wait, what is that called? When you have an intense sensitivity to things touching you just in general?
Yeah. And people, I don't know if you are one of the people that believes in emotional projection. So if you've heard of empaths, if you're facing the other way and someone's really angry and they walk into the room and you notice that they're there, that sort of thing. I am much more sensitive to people's emotions than some people. So if someone is feeling a lot of emotion and they touch me, I feel it a lot more.
Okay, I got you. Wow. So it kind of it's like a transfer.
Mm-hmm.
They transfer it to you by touching you.
And I grew up in a martial artist household. My father's a martial arts instructor. So when I was younger, if someone touched me and I wasn't expecting it, so like I was in the lunch line at elementary school, and I was spacing I was gonna swear. I was spacing out.
F out.
Uh, Apparently, I was like 6 feet behind where I was supposed to be in the lunch line, and the guy behind me, who was such a sweet guy, uh, tried saying my name so many times and getting my attention, and it wasn't working. So he decided to put his hand on my shoulder, and he got 2 elbows in the gut and was holding his stomach for the
Oh
next day.
no. Oh no.
And he felt
Did you get expelled or
no.
suspended? Say that again. I'm sorry, that last part.
Oh, I said I didn't get in trouble at all.
Okay. Did you hurt him pretty bad? Put
He
him on the
didn't.
ground.
permanent injuries.
Okay, all right, let's put it that. You said, okay, so wait, you had mentioned that when you were growing up, there were people who were coming at you sexually. Is that what you were saying? You had experiences with that? I'm sorry. We're getting crossed up and it's crossing over. Say that again.
Oh, I just said absolutely, yes.
Wow, okay. Was it a common thing?
Yes, very.
And you didn't have anybody to, like, your parents didn't stop it, or how did that?
No, I would do what I could to stop it. There are some broken fingers.
Okay. That'll stop it.
But no, it's extremely common for people to be sexually attracted to me, whether or not I'm of age and whether or not they're 10, 20, 30, 40 years older than I am.
Well, you're very pretty, but I don't think, 12 years old is appropriate to come at somebody like that.
Well, not everyone thinks that way.
Well,
Not
was
that
that
it's
like, I mean, it's a small town. You had, like, was that a common thing in the whole town or something? Was just a local area thing?
no, it wasn't even a town thing. It's everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's really messed up. Did you learn to use karate on them and get their fingers broken? Did your dad teach you how to protect yourself?
Not karate, but a variety of other martial arts, yes.
Okay.
I actually really liked growing up in the town I grew up in. There were lots of tweakers and people didn't feel very safe. But I wasn't one of the people that needed protection. I was one of the people that gave protection. So I had, say, my friend Paige, she always ended up being a target. Like, even when I was walking with her, I could feel other people focusing on us. So I would escort her places whenever I could. So I didn't feel unsafe in the town. Actually, so people were attracted to me whether or not I knew them. But all of the negative physical sexual experiences I've had were behind closed doors with someone that I cared about already and trusted.
Gotcha. And you knew any family?
No family, thankfully.
Okay. Yeah, thank God. I never had that either, so thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So just people like friends of family or people your mom and dad knew, or
Some partners, some of my sister's friends. She's 4.5 years older than me, and the friends that were interested in me were older than her.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's go through. I think we got most of them. I want to talk about just quickly romantic. Do you or ever? Well, actually, let me put it this way: do you or ever have you ever had a romantic or sexual experience? And we've already said yes. And do you or ever have you ever had a romantic sexual partner? I think you've answered a couple.
I have had both. I've definitely had more romantic partners than I have had sexual partners. And I only had penile vaginal penetrative sex a couple years ago for the first time. Before that, I had done other sexual acts, but not that.
Okay. In the romance, have you ever had a romance without the sexual? Have you ever had a romantic partner who wasn't also a sexual partner?
Yes. Those were the preferred ones before we worked on my vaginismus and everything, because the ones that were sexual wasn't really something I was into.
Did you ever enjoy sexual experience?
Yes. I
Well,
have.
you said that before. Sorry, but
Huh?
I'm sorry you said that before. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I said I very much enjoy sexual experiences with my long-term partners.
It's okay. So, but you don't enjoy it like, okay, you are physically turned on by them during the experience, right? You have a visual attraction to them, or is it entirely emotional? In physical, like you get a physical reaction to it. But what I'm saying is, you look at them naked, their body and their face, you don't get that boom physical visual attraction, but you get an intimate, like physical touching that you enjoy. Do you see what I'm saying?
It sounds like you're asking if I get aroused just by looking at them.
Yes, basically.
Okay. um, I
I think
would,
you put it in better terms than I did.
just by looking at them, no. But my favorite sexual partner that I had, if we had been having lots of sexual interactions lately and I was enjoying them and my libido was like maxed out, then I would be aroused anyways.
Cool.
But if there was like lots of kissing or a certain interaction that led to, oh, are we gonna fuck? Are we gonna do the things? Then I would feel very aroused. But just viewing their body wasn't something that aroused me.
Okay.
There was something that would lead into something sexual.
That is amazing. I mean, that's so. It's got to do something with the brain. The brain is so complicated, but it's got to do something with the wiring that your attraction is connected more to the emotional part of the brain instead of the visual, physical part.
Yeah, like
That's so
sometimes
cool.
I would notice a part of their body or whatever, and I would be like, oh, I really like this.
Do
And
you? I so get a
I start,
little.
I start.
Do you
Hmm?
like looking at genitals in any way, either
No,
male or female? Okay.
no. If I like doing sexual acts with that pair of genitals, then sometimes looking at them will make me think of the sexual acts, and then I will be interested. But just, but no, genitals
That's
are like
so. Oh,
boring.
that's
They're
so
weird.
neat. That's so amazing. I just find that so fascinating. I never met an actual asex, anybody in the asex category till just like a week ago,
Mm.
because I thought they were so rare. And then I looked it up on Facebook. There's groups of thousands of them. They're all over the place. Okay, well, let's see. The final question, finally. What message would you like to give to the people who say you chose this lifestyle, who say you're morally wrong, who, if you wanted to, you could change it, and that you're mentally ill and you need mental help? What would you say to those people?
If they're just talking to me, I would just ignore them. If they're talking to people that I care about and other people in the community, I want to tell them to fuck right off. Um, as in for
Oh,
more
okay.
time.
Well, okay, let me. I got you. I agree with you, but I'm saying, what is the message you like to give in general to all people who say that?
mm, some people's sexuality is brought on by them having trauma or the way they were brought up, but that is a portion of them. That's not everyone. Just like the people that are walking around being straight and being cisgender, like the majority of them aren't that way because of some trauma or because of some weird lifestyle. Um, it's an extremely natural thing. There's even records of it that go back centuries. And one of the reasons there's less records is because a lot of them were fucking burned. But uh no, stop being haters.
Okay, that's a good
Let
message.
whoever they want to love, and it's not really your problem if they're not attracted to you. It might just be because you're a shitty person.
I think that's true, like almost all the time. I'm sure there's some that like are good people and they just don't understand it, and then they say, "Well, there's got to be something, blah blah blah. You can do this and you can do that," but it's like that's bullshit. There's nothing you can. Well, look at it this way. You don't really experience this, but when somebody looks at somebody and they're attracted to them, it's like this. There's no thought behind it. So if somebody is gay and they look at a man and they go like that, it's not like they're thinking it, like, "Oh, I think I want to be
Yeah,
attracted." It's just an.
I have a friend that wishes she liked girls as well because there's so many attractive girls around her. And it's like she would get laid so much more often, but sadly she's only sexually attracted to guys, so she's just out of luck.
So she does. So she just does it by convenience,
uh,
basically.
yeah, I don't know. I think that if people are struggling to understand the the existence of this entire community, then I would suggest going out and finding some people that are in community and hanging out with them and not having like a certain goal, but just spend time with them and talk to them. And maybe you'll hear about their stories and you'll learn a little bit more. And I don't know. Thinking that people should go to a mental asylum for it is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if talking to that person is going to help very much. But if I had the chance to IRL, then I would, to try and open their mind a little bit and give them different examples and stories. But everything clicks differently for different people. You can't just say one sentence and have everyone understand it. Because they have different upbringings as well. They have different things that have caused them to hate on the community and to believe these things. And just like they're not going to straight up accept us because of different things. Um, I don't remember where that sentence was going.
We can't accept, we're
But
not going to change their mind, or we're not going
yeah,
to.
we can change their minds, but not all at once, and not just with one big sentence. We can definitely make the community more known and talk about it more and be more open about it. And please be safe. And if you're not in a safe environment, it just, you can wait until you find one, but don't shut yourself off. And we love you. Um, but
Well, it's a beautiful message.
or what we do, we just need to try and inform people when we can. And if someone's a dead end, then maybe they'll learn later. But we just have to move on.
Well, Faelynn, this was a fantastic interview. I learned a lot from you. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and I'll send it to you. We did a perfect 45, 6-minute video. I think it was great. I really appreciate this. I want to be your friend. Just come. We'll talk in the groups and stuff. I think you're very, very interesting and a very sweet girl.
Okay. Well, you have me on Facebook, so.
Yeah. All right. Bye for now. I'll send it to you, and thanks so much.
Okay. Have a
Everybody,
lovely.
this is Faelynn, and she's a fantastic person. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Bye. Great.